So I'm pleased to introduce you today to Robin du Parc, founder of Prime Service. Prime Service is a company dedicated to the guidance of private individuals or small companies that need to have a better understanding of governmental aids made available by the government in Belgium, and to help them through the application process in order to take advantage of what is made available. Please, Robin, the floor is yours. You can start sharing your screen, and we are all listening to you. Robin, you're still on mute. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's better like this. Thank you very much. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do see it. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation and giving me the floor. So my job is very simple. It's to hold up as much money as possible from the governments to drive them to the private orders, especially in all over Belgium. But today we will speak about Brussels subsidies, and we will focus on the following issues. So the collecting of subsidies is quite an administrative stuff. Not all of us are good into that, so I'll try to make it simple and to show you up the main stage to do it properly if you want to do it by your own. Of course, the first thing we have in mind when we buy a house or a flat, it's and when we do renovation work, it's how much money I can get and what kind of subsidies I can go through. All the subsidies in Brussels, I may concentrate today in Brussels because I may believe that most of you are based in Brussels. We'll see later if some of you are located in Flemish region or Wallonia, Walloon region, but whatever. The principle is quite the same. So the first thing is to go through what kind of subsidies may be accessed. The second thing is to look at the agenda. Not all of the subsidies are asked at the same time or with the same process. We will see that there are 5 different types of subsidies you can go through, and the request must be asked at different time relative to the timing of the works. It's also important to have in mind that you will have to introduce a certain kind of documents and information. You need to be well aware about what kind and to be able to collect them on time. It's also important to take time the time for a good reading of the documents, a good preparation of the request you will submit to the administration and the way you can send it. And of course, as nobody's perfect, you may make some mistakes in requesting the subsidies, and the administration will be there for you, asking some questions to complete the work. So let's go through the most interesting and important slide. Maybe they are all important, but whatever. I don't know, of course, you at the moment. I don't know what kind of steps you all have already done today for searching for subsidies, but here on that slide you have all of these subsidies you can request in Brussels. An important point is about you won't have any national government aids. It's all relative to regional or municipal level in Brussels. The prime à la rénovation, it's a regional level topic, the same as prime à l'énergie, deal with Brussels environment. For the facade, it's also a regional level. The petit patrimoine, it's also a regional level. And the municipal, the prime communale, it's the only municipal level. Whatever. So having a house or a flat in Brussels, theoretically, you may have access to all that kind of subsidies. But your personal situation, your household situation, your fiscality situation will define if yes or not you will have access to all of them or to most of them. We will see that later. For now, the renovation subsidy, it's the most complete money or the most complete subsidies you may have access to renovate. This fulfill with roof works, with walls, with windows, with electricity, with heating systems, with blowing systems. Almost everything you can touch in a house on a renovation, you can ask through that one. Maybe the only thing they don't pay or they don't help you with, it's the color of the walls and the type of materials you will use to cover the floors, the cellar, the walls, whatever. So that means most of what you will touch with will be covered by that subsidy. It's probably also the one which is paying the more. And he has a great advantage. It's the only one in Belgium, all compared, that will pay 90% of his value at the beginning. But it's also the most complicated to get, as you need to be prepared to introduce the document or to has the green light before the works. The next one, which is quite famous and very well known, it's the prime à l'énergie. When you talk to your architect, when you talk to your entrepreneur about what kind of subsidies may I get, they will talk to you about that one. That's the most famous. You may ask that to Brussels Environment. But this one is not for everything you will touch in your house or flat. It's mostly for the isolation of the roof, of the walls, of the floor, of the windows, the heating systems. So it's not covering extensions, it's not covering roof reparation, it's not covering electricity and so on. But it's quite useful because when you think about your works to do, it's about isolating your house to replace the electricity or the heating system. The others, you will probably not really ask for them, but we'll go through. The first one, it's the prime for embellissement de façade. I use French words because they may help you in some case to identify what you ask for. L'embellissement de façade, it's quite very simple. You have a dirty facade. You buy a building and you have a dirty, a very creepy facade which has not been cleaned for 100 years. You can apply for that subsidy for the administration to help you, giving some money to make it super clean, super good looking. This is something I like to see. What's creepy before, what's beautiful after. You clearly see it, and everybody in the street will see it. The next one for prime petit patrimoine, it's quite very specific. I use that photo to show you that the most popular request is for sgraffit. A sgraffit, it's kind of painting you may find on some Brussels house. It's made with a particular let's say, technique. It's quite very beautiful, and you may get quite a lot of money to repair or to restore that kind of stuff you see in front of the house. For the prime communal, you are about, let's say, 15, 20 today. You probably already lived in Brussels, in some municipalities. Over the 19 municipalities we find in Brussels, 11 of them provide complementary subsidies. It's not at all the same level of renovation or prime à l'énergie, but it's when you had all of these subsidies, you can get quite a lot of money. So the idea is to well identify, to well prepare yourself, and take the time to do the stuff. And you will addition, or you will summarize all of these subsidies. You can get up to 30, 40, 50,000 euros if you are well organized. So I mentioned previously some point for prime à la rénovation. Here you find a list of everything that could be covered. This list is a part of the document you need to comply to send your request to the administration. But you may see that you have works relative to the stability of the building, everything concerning the roof. You can fight against humidity or merule. You can cover the cost for gas connection, gas heating system, or electricity, to everything concern isolation, the covering for external works for the walls, everything concerning windows, especially wooden windows, for the heating, for the sanitaries, and so on. You can even cover some kind of cost for the architect who will follow the works. About energy subsidy, this is the tab for 2021. It's clearly mentioned about isolation of the wall, of the roof, the walls, of the floor, the windows, blowing system, heating system, regulation, what you need to regulate the temperature in the house, pompe à chaleur too, kind of. This is quite detailed and very useful tab because you have all the conditions to access to it, the technical conditions to access to, and the values of the subsidies you may have. For example, for isolation of the roof, you can go up to 50 euros per square meter. That means you can cover almost 100% of the cost, but it's limited to 70% in some conditions. Embellissement de façade, it's also the list of everything you can cover. It's difficult not to find something which is not covered, as I said, except your taste for the color, for the painting of the walls. That belongs to you, not the administration, but for everything else, you will find what you need. When we have identified the kind of subsidies we can ask for, the next part of your study or your research or your understanding, it's about the fiscality. It's very important. Not everyone can have access to some of, but most of you can have access to some others. It's quite complicated, but let's focus on Belgium, on the fiscality. For all the subsidies, you may present your fiscal situation. I don't know if you're living for a long time or not in Belgium, but the first document you have to present or look for, it's the avertissement extra drôle. So that means every year you have to submit your fiscality to your financial institution, who will proceed to a treatment of that information and restitute a calculation. in every single calculation of every single country, we find a value which is the one from which the tax will be calculated. We don't need to know what kind of tax, if you pay tax or not, what kind of tax or the value of the tax you pay. This is no interest for anyone, but which is the interest is to know the value on which the tax will be calculated, and that information must be given to the administration. When we live in Belgium and submit the tax in Belgium, we talk about avertissement extra drôle and des revenus imposables globalement. We also quite regularly received requests from people working at the EU institutions. They all believe that they earn a lot of money, which is quite true, but that depends what we are looking on the documents they received per year. For the European fiscality, we talk about certificate of revenues, and on that certificate you have different line presenting different values, and I will show you later what kind of values you may use to apply for the subsidies. So for the EU institutions, what I said previously, and I will repeat, is very important. We don't care if you pay or not taxes and where you pay taxes. We just care about the values on which the tax will be calculated. So the system, it's quite the same for all countries. The matter is the administration need the information in French, not in English, not in Polish, not in Italian, not in Spanish, whatever. So at one time you will probably have to translate that document, and you will probably have to pay someone to translate, to produce an official document for the administration. But not worth an obstacle right now. So this is an example of two documents. On the left-hand side, you have the avertissement extra drôle, and on the right-hand side, you have the certificate of revenues for somebody working in 2018 at the European Commission. On the left-hand side, you have the revenu imposable globalement, and you have to take that value as a reference. For the certificate of revenues, as I said, you can earn quite a lot of money, which is all relative, and you will probably think that you have access to 111,000 euros per year, but the administration will use the line basic taxable amount, including effect of wage, which is 62,000. If you think or believe that you earn 111,000 euros, you may be excluded for the renovation subsidy, but you will have access to the energy subsidy. But as the administration thinks about 62,000, you have access to a renovation subsidy, and you have a better rate for the energy subsidy. So this information and that focus, it's very important. This slide, it's about showing you that I will try to be as clear as possible. When I try to explain the way you can think properly before submitting a request to the administration, it's not because you send a request that you will have access to. You need to think properly before. We have seen what kind of subsidies. We have seen the basic principle for the fiscality, but there is also an information which is quite important in Brussels. You have different mapping, and relative to your household composition, in that mapping, you will have access to more or less subsidies. When I take the prime à la rénovation, the first tab here at the top of the slide, we can see that if your revenues are between 35,000 and 71,000, you will have access to either 30%, 40%, 50%. All administration will give you the money following a certain percentage of fiscality. I will give you an example later, it will be clear for you. But you may have a flat or a house in outside of contrat de quartier or inside une zone de développement pour la rénovation du logement, and the location of the house will define what kind of percentage you will have. So it's a crossover, it's a meeting point in between different lines, and this is what I try here to highlight. For the prime à l'énergie, it's the same. If you have a revenue in coupled between 50,000 or 86,000 euros, you will have access to the category B. I will go back earlier to this one. Prime à l'énergie, I just said you if between 35 and 80,000 you have access to category B. So now here, when you read the line isolation du toit, you follow from my finger, you will see on the column résidentiel unfamilial, enfin résidentiel non familial ou résidentiel collectif, tertiaire et industriel, you have category A, B et C. So if you have a high revenue, you will be on category A. If you have a middle revenue, you will be on category B. If you have a low revenue, you will be on category C. And you can see that the price is going quite up. On category A, you may have 20 euros per square meter. On category B, 30 euros. And on category C, 50 euros. So as lower is your incomes, higher will be the subsidies. So it's quite important for you to well define what kind is your revenues and what kind of categories you will be on. And this tab will help you to identify for the prime à la rénovation, either will you be no prime, donc pas de prime, and the higher is 70% of intervention. So this is the principle for prime à la rénovation, prime à l'énergie, prime à l'embellissement de la façade. Maybe I lost some of you here, but the best advice I can give, anyhow, it may sound stupid, but it's for you, it's to take some time to sit down and to read properly the document or the notice explicative for the subsidies, to go through properly, to read once or twice, and then to go through the process of. Here it's, I put that slide because I want to try to help you in the way how you can calculate your cash, and to how to easily make it. I think I will quite skip this part here right now, but I will just focus into one example, the replacement of the wooden windows frame. Most of the time, when you do the works, the renovation works, almost everyone will replace the windows. So it's quite, or the heating system, it's quite one of the most basic example I can give you. The prime à la rénovation, they will pay 150 euros per square meter, but it's multiplied by the fiscality or coefficient fiscal, as I was speaking before. The most, the higher one is 70%. So the administration will give you 70% of 150 euro per square meter. This is quite good. So you only have to multiply by the number of square meter of wooden window you will replace. On this example, I've taken 42 square meters. That means the administration will give you on your bank account 4,410 euros. If you have access to the prime à la rénovation, you will also have access to the prime à l'énergie. You have 42 square meters of wooden windows, and the Brussels Environnement will give you the higher amount, which is 25 euros per square meter. So it's a bit more than 1,000. Asking only for these wooden windows, you will get to 2 administration, the most popular one, you will raise more than 5,460 euros. I don't want to go now in more explanation about how to calculate this. The notice d'explication for the prime à la rénovation or the prime à l'énergie are very well detailed, and you will easily find the information or more detailed information for. And you have on the previous slide the URL to access straight to website of the administration to download the notice for. One of the most popular mistakes people do in asking or requesting subsidies, it's they don't know about the timing. They don't know about what kind of subsidies and when they have to submit this. The when is very, very, very important, because if you don't know properly, you will skip and probably lose thousands of money. The prime à la rénovation, the prime façade et petit patrimoine always have to be asked previously the works. Then you do the works, and after that, you ask for the prime à l'énergie, and you close the files prime à la rénovation, prime façade, prime patrimoine. And when it is done, only at that time you can ask most of the time the prime communal, municipal. So this slide, it's quite simple. Everyone can understand it, and I won't say it's the most important, but it is. It's about when you have to do what. So more in details to give you for these 5 types of subsidies some more strategic information. You have to know that for the prime à la rénovation, the notice explicative provided by the administration, it's about 65 pages. Of course, the aim of this presentation is not to go and explain all the pages, but to give you an overview. The prime à la rénovation, you need a preliminary green light. So that means you first have to introduce your request. It will be treated by the administration, and when all is okay, they will give you a green pass. You have to send the form or the request at least 3 months before starting the works. And you can't start until that green light. When you have it, you can start. And as I said previously, this prime à la rénovation it's quite enormous, because she's the only one in Belgium to pay 90%. So that means if the administration say to you, you have access to 20,000 euros, they will pay at the beginning of the works 18,000. Can be quite useful if you want to pay your entrepreneur. And of course, it will cost you probably much as you think. But the 10% remaining will be paid at the end. For the prime à la façade, prime embellissement de façade, it's quite the same. You need a previously green light. You need to send the form not 3 months, but 4 months before. You need the green light, then you can start the work. And the subsidy will be paid at the end. You won't get cash first. The prime pour le petit patrimoine, same. You need a preliminary green light, but it's 3 weeks before you have to submit. You get a green light to start the works, and then it is paid later, after the works. So you pay 100% of the invoice of the entrepreneur. You submit your file, and you get your cash. Le prime à l'énergie, it's about 18,000 requests per year, or 20, or more than 20 this year. In 2021, it's probably more than 20,000 requests sent to the administration. For the prime à la rénovation, it's about 2,500. So it gives you a rank of how much it is famous, or it can be helpful. They provide in 2021 30 million for energy subsidy. It's about 10 million for the prime à la rénovation. Yeah. So prime à l'énergie, you have 1 year to submit the file to the administration. It's quite enough to do it, but you can start submitting once you have paid the latest invoice of your entrepreneur. So the 1 year starts at the date of the latest invoice of the respective entrepreneur. For the prime communale, you get the money from the prime à la rénovation or the prime à l'énergie, and when you have it, you can start the proceeding, or you can start proceeding to the request for the municipality. But you need to get the cash first. The shopping list. For every single type of subsidy, you have a list of documents and information to collect. So the main categories are from the architect, the entrepreneur, and the administration. So if you use an architect to renovate your house, you have to ask him the maîtrise, which is an Excel sheet listing all type of works, and this list will be used by the entrepreneur to put the price on it. You need the plans, the big plans of the house before and after the works. It's always useful to have pictures of your house before, during, and after. It's useful for multiple things and to remember how creepy was the house before, but also to know what kind of isolation has been put on the roof, where the tube for the water, how, whatever. But the administration can request such kind of pictures. Of course, you need your permis d'urbanisme, a PEB declaration. The architect will explain what is it, but it's performance énergétique des bâtiments, building energy efficiency declaration that must be submitted during the process of permis d'urbanisme. And of course, if you use an architect, you will be contracted with him to follow up the works during the works. For the entrepreneur, a quotation, it's obvious, but a detailed quotation, it's not that kind of obvious. As far detailed the quotation could be, the better it is for the administration, but better it is also for your defense when you will have problems with your entrepreneur. That could happen. You need to defend yourself. You also need invoices from the entrepreneur. We don't care if they are detailed or not. You provide the quotation and the invoice. The pictures, if you want to isolate the roof, you will have to show it to the administration using some kind of pictures. Technical sheet, the entrepreneurs will be invited when they buy you to complete some kind of technical sheets detailing what kind of isolation they used. for example. And if you replace your electricity and heating system, you will have to get certificate of conformity. These certificates must be asked to an external company, officially recognized to deliver such kind of document. Always good to know. Administration, of course, they need to have the requested, the subsidy form, excuse me, the certificate of ownership, cadastral matrix, or any kind of document that can indicate the year of building of your house or your flat. Avertissement extrait de rôle or certificate of revenues, I said, the picture of the house, household composition. It's important to know that for this, I didn't mention it previously, but they need the fiscality of every single person aging 18 plus of your household composition. So they don't care if your husband or your wife or your kid, 23-year-old, are owners of the house. They used to know who is composing your household, your family. And a proof of payment for the invoice. You received an invoice, you pay it, you need to deliver to the administration the proof of payment. I'm almost done. Very simple, how to prepare and send it. So you sit down and you print the forms, you read them carefully, as I said, and you start fulfilling. You or your architect or your entrepreneur, you have all the answers. It's not that complicated, but it needs time. There is no way out of it. Technical form, they will be fulfilled by the entrepreneur. They will take a bit of time for that, but they will probably do it. Most of them, they know how to complete, but they can make mistakes. To be honest, half of the files we submit to the administration, we have to correct, to adapt the information given, because they will probably confuse between your works and the works of somebody else. You need to ask your architect maybe to help you into that. So be aware and check up. Attachment, as I said, see the shopping list with pictures, invoice, plans, quotations, and so on. Another good advice is, well, I would say that, but most of the subsidies can be sent by email. This is quite useful. So, of course, you will print it, not print it, you will scan it, but please save the scan. This will be very helpful to defend yourself in any way if you need. But some administration are very paper relative, so they need to have or to receive physically the papers. Which is your request. So, energy subsidy, the energy subsidy, yeah, can be sent by email to Bruxelles Environnement. But for the prime à la rénovation, you have to print out your file and drop it physically on a table in the building of the administration. So scan everything you do. You never know what can happen. Question from the administration and answers. Most of the people who request subsidies, they will face questions. You are not Einstein, nobody is. So everyone can make mistakes, everyone can forget something, but no panic, the administration will be there for you. This is part of their job. They are not here, at least for the Belgian public officer, they are not there to rip you off, to try to find out the most little thing that will put you out of the eligibility of the subsidy. That doesn't exist. This is a myth. So if you mistake on something, they will send you a paper saying we need this, 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 and this. You don't argue. They are right to ask you that. You just adapt. You just reply to the request. Most of the time you have 1 or 2 months to do it. It's enough. You can talk to them. You can email to them. They are human beings and they are there for helping you. That sounds stupid to say, but it's probably will save your life on the relationship you will have with the administration. If you do your job properly, if you analyze properly, if you can have access to a subsidies or not, and if your request is well fulfilled, you will have that money on your bank account. In our side, I'm not here to make publicity or advertising for my company, but we manage about 5 million public aids per year. So yes, it works. I will finish here with boring you with some technical stuff, mostly. The renovation works, the renovation subsidy, they will help you out with most of the things you can touch in your house, as I said. But for the energy stuff, they will give you money for one reason. They want to advertise you or to help you or to make you think that when you renovate your house, this is the best moment to use some kind of materials to reduce the consumption of your house. We are facing a climate change. Brussels Environment put the energy subsidies on the table since 2004 from the Protocol of Kyoto, and they want you to use materials that will decline the consumption of energy in your house. This is particularly important right today when we see the rise up of the price for gas and electricity. Isolation has nothing to do with electricity, but you get the point. So they will ask you to respect some technical issues about isolation. For the roof isolation, you need a resistance thermique of minimum 4. You see the values for the walls and the floor. You will find more details on the explanations documents of the administration, but they say that you need to have a minimum, a kind of material, so a minimum of thickness to block the heat to get outside of the house. So to have access to energy subsidies and thousands of euros when you renovate or isolate your roof, you have to respect that technical issue. You will feel it when you sleep on your house, and you will see it on your bank account when you get 10,000 euros, for example. So be well aware of these values. And that's it, I'm finished. I'm sorry, I've been quite long, but we still have 10 minutes for Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I guess we all like renovating our house now, do we? So, Robin, do you think you had a chance to answer all questions that were asked by the participants on the...
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah, I will be quite fast on that. We get a question from Hermel Kepidani. What are the subsidies in Brussels for deep renovation? I've mentioned all you can get access to. We received another question. Can subsidies be applied for after the work has been completed? I've already mentioned that. So there are some which must be applied before. If you missed, you can't go back on that. You have to forget them, or to forget them. Renovation, facade, and petit patrimoine. If you start the works, it's lost, no way back. You will have to remain with the energy subsidies and municipal subsidies. Is that true that getting a prime triggers a revaluation of your property and therefore your tax cadastral goes up in Flanders? No, this is untrue. The only things that drives a revision of your tax cadastral, it's when you go through a permis d'urbanisme. But there are absolutely no links between subsidies and tax cadastral revaluation. It doesn't exist nowhere in Belgium. It's also a myth. As we move toward net zero, how do the speakers envisage householders being able to isolate all their properties to the standards which will be needed to meet zero target? When you have an old property, the zero target, it's not possible. Sorry to disappoint, but it won't exist. That house will consume and will produce, unfortunately. The best way to reduce as much as you can in the actual standard is to isolate the roof, isolate the walls, the floor, to replace the wooden, to replace the windows, to have a good heating system, to have a good blowing system. And your PEB will certainly comes from F to B, but you won't reach A. A, it's only for new buildings and the conception of the house. But every works on energy or isolation will clearly reduce the consumption of the house. Another question is own car parking from commune. I don't really get the question, but there are no subsidies to buy car park from the commune. Now, for municipal from municipalities, I've not seen up to now a municipality given money for owning a parking, but that may change. You will probably already know that the mobility in Brussels, it's quite a nightmare. It's changing all the time, and you completely can crash your head on a wall to try to understand what's coming up. But I think there are no subsidies about that. If I properly understand the question. There were questions on the chat. How long do you need to own the house to be eligible for various subsidies? For the renovation subsidy, you may introduce your file with the compromis de vente. But if you want to get the money, you have to show the attestation of ownership.
So does that mean that you can apply for the subsidy even before you have signed the notarial deed? So you need to have just the temporary purchase commitment, and that's enough to apply for the subsidy. And then to get the money, you need to show that you are the owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And for the renovation subsidy, I don't know if I put it on there are so many conditions, but you need, for the renovation subsidy, you need to stay in the house after the works for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
If you're not, you will probably be invited to reimburse all the subsidy. accepted if you prove that you had to quit the country to work into another country, for example. But for the renovation subsidy, as you say, Eleonore, you only need to have on hand the compromis de vente, right?
Good. Yeah.
And then you continue fulfilling the request from the administration later on. But to save time, you can move with that.
Yeah.
It's the same for embellissement de façade, and for the energy subsidy, it's to be asked after the works. So you have all the time to be the owner, to get the ownership of the house.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have other questions? If you have, please unmute yourself and speak loud. What you also can do is write down the email address of Robin. It's on the slide here, robin@primeservice.be. You can send him a mail if you have a specific request, and they may even be able to make an offer for personal guidance.
Yeah, I can do that. You have to know that all the analyses are done for free for everyone. So if you have a question, don't keep for you. I'm not here to sell my products or services or whatever, but when we do the analysis, as I said, it's for free, and we are never forced anyone to sign up with us. But if you ask a question, you will have an answer. A positive one, probably. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So if no one has a question left now, I think I'll close the session, but not before thanking you, Robin, for your time, insights, availabilities. It's a very specific question. Information is not made available on a very transparent way, and it's very helpful to have an overview and to know that there is someone willing to take you by hand, guiding you through that process. So let me please, so thank you, Robin, and wishing you a nice day ahead. We'll be in touch soon, I hope, for face-to-face meetings. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.